And we are live on another edition of the K and K Sport. This might be the K and C Sports Show. It's just two of us right now. Kurt Valenti, Carson Shear. What's going on, Carson?
What's up, Kurt? How you doing? Yeah, it's kind of a shorter squad tonight, but Kurt and I will hold down the fort. Hopefully, Scoops joins us soon. And shout out again to our good friends Kenny and Paul. They couldn't make it tonight, but thanks again for being a good co-host with us on our shows. We got a good agenda tonight, Kurt.
Absolutely. And before we start, Carson, I want to give for our prayers for Paul's mom. I know she was in the hospital. Believe she's home now, so recovering. But just want to say, again, and Paul's like, I apologize for not coming on. Absolutely not, Paul. Take care of your mom. We'll come back next week, obviously, and but that's more important. But please, prayers for nice recovery for your mom. And Mr. Kirkpatrick chiming in already. Evening, fellas. Feels weird being in the chat, but I will be throwing my 2 cents in throughout the show. Kenny's working tonight, obviously, so he cannot be on the show. Coach Breslin, what's up, everyone? I think they were afraid of Kurt tonight. LOL. And thoughts and prayers for Paul's mom from Coach Breslin. So, you know what? I'll let you go first. Give me your opening statement.
Sure. Yeah, obviously, Kurt and I, with our NFL teams, were very disappointed this weekend, but hopefully we can bounce back. Yeah, it was kind of a giant disappointment. I know, Kurt, you're doing a Broncos show later, and my Lions were supposed to beat the Seahawks, and we kind of crashed and burned, and we couldn't stop Geno Smith to save our life. But we're moving on to week 3. We got our Wits and Wages show tomorrow, so we'll make our picks. But yeah, ready to rock and roll, Kurt. I guess I'll start it off.
I want to go off script. One thing with you.
Sure. Yeah.
You guys had a huge win week 1, probably the biggest win, opening night in Kansas. Does this loss kind of take away a little of that win where it's like, like a little bit or no?
Yeah, I think it did. I think we were on like the highest of highs after we beat the Super Bowl champs at Arrowhead, and everybody and their mother thought the Lions are going to beat the Seahawks, and they basically came into our town and completely just destroyed us on defense, and we couldn't stop Geno Smith. So I think it's a reality check now. We got a lot of guys banged up, so we got the Falcons, who are a very underrated team, and it's but the line keeps dropping. I think it was Lions -5. Now it's Lions -3. So it should be a really good game.
All right. I'm not even going to have an opening statement because I don't even want to get going with this disgraceful defensive performance in Vance Joseph. I'll get to that at 10 o'clock tonight. But Carson, Mark Caldera, our good friend. Good evening, gentlemen.
Hey, Mark. How you doing?
All right, Carson. It's all yours.
Sure. Yeah. So we'll kind of start off. We have a new topic that we kind of introduced a couple weeks ago called Carson's Corner. So I'll start off. I got a couple topics. One of them was going to be an interesting, heated debate, but a couple of our co-hosts couldn't make it, so we're going to save that question for another time. I'm looking forward to it. But we got a couple topics on tonight. We got our good friend Ryan joining us. How you doing, Ryan?
What's up, Ryan?
How are y'all doing? Pardon the delay, but I'm glad that I got all squared around.
All good.
Right, awesome.
So yeah, we're going to jump into it here. So the first question I have for you guys, and feel free, the chat can chime in as well. Colorado college football, Deion Sanders kind of been the story of college football this year. I couldn't be more happy for them as a program. This is a team that won 1 football game last year, and they're already off to a hot 3-0 start. They basically had a really impressive performance week 1, shocked the world and kind of put themselves on the map, beating TCU. Then they had a dominant performance at home against Nebraska. Last week, they had their arch rival Colorado State. That was a really unbelievable game. I stayed up, and I think the game at like 1 a.m. here on the East Coast. Just an absolute shootout back and forth, but they barely got by Colorado State, and they were a pretty heavy point favorite. So I guess the question for you guys is, are you guys still buying into the Colorado college football hype train, or do you think they're going to hit a brick wall and kind of come back down to reality when they start to face legit teams, with this team coming up facing Oregon this week, and they get into USC after that? So it's going to really see the endurance Deion Sanders and his team has this year. So do you guys believe in the hype, yes or no? I'll start with Ryan first.
Can you start with Kurt, just because I'm getting set up here?
Sure, yeah, Kurt. Go for it.
Yeah, I do. I do agree with what you said, though. I think reality is going to strike. They're going to Oregon. I think they're 21-point underdogs. Then I think they got USC back to back. So, but you know what? I think the over under, if I'm not mistaken, for this team this year, was it 3 or 4 wins?
It was 3.5.
3.5.
I
So
smashed that over big time.
I mean, he took a team that was probably the worst in college football, right? They were 1 win, and just look at last week. You had the McAfee show there, ESPN Game Day, Fox. I mean, it's the number one story in college football. He's made them relevant. They said something where the Colorado game the other night, the ratings were like, if I'm not mistaken, the 5th or 6th like most college football. It's crazy. So I'm buying in. I mean, and he's going to recruit, and he's so smart, like the whole thing with the sunglasses, and he made all $1 billion sales, and but I think they are legit. I think they'll be a bowl team. Our good friend Keith Brugman from the Denver Broncos Roundup. Oregon is a loss, but I still believe the hype. 3-0, and the turnaround still is the hype with a loss. I do. I do, Carson. I believe it. I think, what he said he's done. Now let's, I don't want him to finish 3-8. If he gets to a bowl, I think he's done his job this year. But I believe the hype.
Nice. Ryan, what about you?
Yeah, no. So, first of all, yeah, I definitely believe that. I think that they're on track for a bowl game. I agree with what Keith said. I do think that I don't think that they're going to continue their streak after the Oregon game and going into facing USC, who I think is one of the more underrated teams this year. But the hype is not going to diminish just because of 1 or even 2 losses to powerhouse, especially to a powerhouse like USC. I think that they're off to, like you said, they've had historic start. Deion Sanders, very seldom do you see a coach come in and completely flip an organization and it's following in 1 year. I mean, just look at what's happening. We're in, week 3, I think week 3 or week 4 of college football. We're talking about Colorado. When was the last time week 3, week 4, a show that talks about, that only goes for 1 hour, made a point that we got to talk about Colorado. So I think that just goes and shows right there. I think that kind of says it all right there. And I think that while I don't see them going to, I don't see them winning their conference, or I don't see them going to, CFP conversation yet. I do think that Colorado's a team that's going to be a force to be reckoned with as an organization for years to come. And I like what he said. After 2 or 3 wins, they already were coming out and there was hype about, is he going to go to the NFL? Is he, a potential successor to Mike McCarthy? And he's like, I'm staying in Colorado. I'm staying in Colorado. Now, again, I know that coaches always do that.
Right. But that's the key.
But again, I know that coaches always do that. But at the same time, I think that there's people affiliated with him who are also coming out and saying, nah, Colorado is going to be, that's going to be where he stays, or at least NCAA is where he's going to stay.
Couple comments, Carson, real quick. Let me just real quick.
Go ahead.
Kenny, Carson, I think losing Hunter is going to be a huge loss, and it's going to show how valuable he is this week. Not only this week against Oregon, but following week against USC. But I'm buying in like Kurt. Recruits will want to play for him. Our good friend Jody Moncrief, the other part of Denver Broncos Roundup. And again, Jody, join me at 10 o'clock tonight because I'm going to be fuming on that show. Different game if Hunter plays Coach Breslin. Great point here. He is a very smart guy, very good coach. I think they're going to be very successful, but from an administrator's point of view, I just have a hard time with how the process took place. I understand the rules, but when 70 to 80% of student athletes are told they're losing their scholarships, I still have a hard time with that. Jody saying, but I guess to you, Scoops, but wait, it's not Colorado. It's not like Colorado has never won a natty before. Coach Breslin, I think his style is geared towards the college game. And Kenny's got a quick.
I agree with Joe Breslin. I don't know what Jody's saying, honestly.
He's just saying that Colorado has won a national championship, so it's not like they're have always been irrelevant.
Right.
All right.
Yeah,
Sorry
fair
about that,
enough. And I
Carson.
think you guys make good points. And I think you're going to see the endurance that this team really has. And a couple people were saying the Travis Hunter situation. By the way, I saw that play live when that happened. Henry Blackburn made that hit, and it was a dirty play. I'm surprised he didn't get ejected. But now, apparently, I just heard a couple talk shows say that him and his family are getting death threats, which I think is
Yep.
ridiculous. Yeah, it was a dirty play, but let's not get too far ahead of ourselves. It's a college football game. Obviously Travis Hunter, he's dealing, I think, something with his liver ended up being the issue when he got hit. So hopefully he can come back strong as
Carson, can
well.
I
But
throw
I
one
do
more
agree
at
with you
you?
guys.
Can I throw
What?
one more at you? Kenny has a quick hitter for us about the same situation. Eddie Murphy saying, good evening, gentlemen. But I'm going to start with you, Carson.
Mhm.
Question for the panel. This is from Kenny. Panel quick hitter style. Do you think we are going to see in the future now more two-way players like Travis Hunter, Carson?
No, Travis Hunter's generational. I think I saw something crazy. He took over like 170 college football snaps on both sides of the field. Very, very rarely, like maybe once every 10, 15, 20 years, you see a guy who can cover on both defense and catch passes on offense. So I think he's generational. He's definitely special. And I hopefully he can come back healthy because he's definitely going to be a first-round draft pick.
Coach Breslin says, and I said this last night in our high school show, when Coach Breslin agrees with you, that's when you know you made it. So he's saying, I agree with you on this, Carson. No, he's a generational player. Agree with Carson.
Mhm.
Coach is also saying, yes, I respect Deion for getting on the air and telling people to stop that. No, he won't do that in the NFL. Would be a lot harder to do. What do you think, Scoops, about that? You can see more two-way players?
I can't see that. I mean, the last time we saw something like that was what, back in like the 40s or
Charles
something?
Woodson, maybe a little bit with
Mhm.
Michigan. Carson, right? He did it a little bit.
Yeah, Jabril
Okay,
Peppers at Michigan did it recently, where he played
I,
defensive
I was,
back and
I'm sorry.
receiver.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I meant at the NFL level. My bad.
Yeah. Mhm.
Um, but so it's not something that obviously happens all that much. Obviously it'd be great, I think, publicity and great for the fans if that could happen. But now appreciate this guy while he's playing, because I
Mhm.
you never know, you never know if or when someone's gonna come along like that. Like people are already trying to find the next Otani in baseball, and I'm like, just appreciate the guy while he's here, because there's a reason why these are so
Now,
rare.
Eddie's right with this. He's saying, Carson, what do you think about this? He said Deion did it a little, didn't he? He did
Yeah.
play a little wide receiver here and there.
Mhm. For
So
sure. Yeah, well, and that's just it. That's what makes Travis Hunter so great and so generational is he's doing this at the college football Division 1 level. A lot of guys in high school, they'll play on both sides of the ball, but when they actually get to the college stage, they just pick one position and stick to it because they don't have the endurance to play both defensive back or receiver or running back and safety, whatever the case is. They physically don't have the endurance and the stamina to do so. So Travis Hunter is definitely generational.
okay. I'm sorry about cutting you off, Carson. I just wanted to get those comments in.
Yeah. No, you're good. Yeah, like I said, it's going to be interesting to see what happens. I think, like Ryan was saying, I think they're definitely on track for a bowl game, at least 6 wins now. The over/under was 3.5 before the season started, so I think they'll definitely overachieve that. But when they actually start to face the USCs, the Oregons of the world,
Yeah.
I think they're going to kind of run into a roadblock, especially without one of their leaders, Travis Hunter. So we'll see what happens with that. But good thoughts. That was the first point. Second point that we're going to get into, moving into the NFL side of things now. We had a couple of our teams had some exciting plays and exciting wins this season, this week, and a lot of teams were disappointing. So I want you guys to give me a surprising team from week 2 of the NFL season and a disappointing team. I'll give my 2 really quick. Disappointing, I think I'm going to go with the Lions. There was a lot of hype around the Lions. They came off basically one of their biggest wins ever, going to Arrowhead, beating the champs, and coming back home with the whole ski mask trend, and we let Geno Smith completely walk all over us. So I think it was kind of a reality check. I'm disappointing in them because I thought that at Ford Field, home especially, I thought that was a gimme. And from my good friend Joey Clams, there's no such thing as a lock of the century, because I definitely got my ass handed to me on that one when they lost. So I would say disappointing is the Lions. And then surprising team, I'm going to go with the Commanders. 2-0 start. I know Kurt kind of throws up in his mouth when he hears that, but I did not expect Sam Howell and the Commanders to start the season 2-0. There's a lot of promising signs in that Commanders team. So those are my two teams.
Kenny saying Carson, surprise has to be Commanders, 2-0 start, and that comeback in Denver for me too. Joe Breslin, Coach Breslin, yes. Let's go, Carson.
Nice.
Eddie's also saying, you might not like this one. He's saying Lions blew that one. And then Eddie's asking, I'll hold off on Eddie's question about Cam Akers until Carson, you go.
Oh, okay. Sure. Ryan, surprise team and disappointing team in week 2.
I don't think even Commanders fans expected to win that game. But anyway, so my disappointing team, what the heck is happening in Cincinnati? How are you 0-2, lost that game at home? Like, Joe Burrow just got the bag of all bags, and now all of a sudden it's like there's absolutely no close connection to what Cincinnati football has been the last couple of years with him at the helm. Everything looks disjointed on both sides of the ball. And, they came in as more than a field goal favorite. And they ended up losing by a field goal again at home. I know, like Jody said, Burrow's hurt, but the amount of talent that he's had around him, the amount of talent on that defense, the fact that they're 0-2, and again, I may be beating this point a little bit more, is is the fact that it's just has happened at home. Kenny, real quick, said that disappointing for him is the Chargers. They were disappointing for me as well because they cost me money. But and then on the surprise side of things, I'm not entirely surprised by it because I believe in their quarterback more than most of people in America do. But the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, quarterbacked by Baker Mayfield, they're looking like a real team right now. They're coming in and, everybody I think threw in the towel and said, oh, they're going to be nothing now that they've got Todd Bowles. They've got, Baker Mayfield at QB, that they're not going to be anything. Baker Mayfield played a really good game this weekend, and he is showing what he was that made him be the first overall pick by Cleveland 5 years ago. And I think that he's showing once there's a little bit of structure, once there's a little bit of just non-chaos in the organization, he can go out there and ball. And, shame on Cleveland for, giving up on him and giving, a fully guaranteed contract to somebody who's now playing worse than the guy that they gave up. But I guess we'll call that Cleveland karma.
I'm going to go a couple comments. Eddie's making a comment. Scoops, I got your back on this one. He's saying Eagles should be 0-2, but wins are a win, I guess. LOL. Jody's saying
I didn't even see that one. I guess I blocked it out.
Jody's saying Burrows is hurt. That's why. Again, Kenny's saying about the Chargers. He's saying Staley may be fired soon. Coach Breslin, but their line still stinks. And can they run the ball? Coach Kenny, Joe Burrows is hurt because of bad OL. And Eddie's saying Bengals started 0-2 last year and still had a good year. So 2 weeks is nothing, Carson.
Yeah, and I believe the Bengals did start 0-2 last season, and they got to an AFC championship. So, again, I'm concerned about the Bengals, and I think, people were saying in the chat, I think Joe Burrow's ankle's definitely causing issues with him. It's going to be really interesting to see what happens Monday night because they play Monday night, and there's still question marks if they're going to play them. But they almost have to because they can't afford to go 0-3. So we'll be interesting to see what happens with that. Kurt, surprise and disappointing team.
My surprise, is going to be a quarterback I knock a lot, and that's Lamar and the Baltimore Ravens. They went into Baltimore. I'm sorry, they went into Cincinnati. Again, we're saying must win, but at home, you don't want to fall to 0-2 in front of your crowd. And you know what? Back and forth. I was watching a couple of games. Okay, here comes Cincinnati. They'll pull away. Nope. Baltimore made the plays. Burrow didn't. And I'm going to give my surprise, Carson, to the Baltimore Ravens. Disappointment. Again, I don't want to waste your time, but I'm not even going to say the Denver Broncos. I'm going to say the Denver Bronco defense. And I'll say it's real quick. Top 3 unit, top 5 unit, top unit. Are you joking? If you said to me the Broncos are going to average 26 points per game, the Broncos are going to have the number 1 per possession scoring in the NFL. We're 2-0. 2-0. What happened to the defense? You know what happened? They didn't hire Rex Ryan and they hired Vance Joseph. That's all I'm going to say about that until 10 o'clock. Broncos, major disappointment.
Gotcha. We're going to move right along here. We got a couple NFL quick hitter questions for you guys. Shout out again to Kenny and Paul for putting the agenda together last night. So a couple questions will continue on here with the NFL. We're kind of talking about this with disappointing teams, but gentlemen, which winless team is first to hit the panic button where you're thinking, okay, they're not off to the start we all hoped they would be. They better get it together week 3 or they're in deep trouble. I would say probably the Bengals with Joe Burrow. I mean, like Ryan said, they just made him the highest paid player in NFL history, and he looks completely non-existent. And I think a lot of that's due to his ankle injury, calf ankle strain, whatever he has going on. So I think, they have to get it together because you can't go 0-3 after Monday Night Football. So I would say the Bengals.
Carson, Kenny's saying Chargers.
Chargers, yeah, that's a good one.
And he thinks if they go 0-3, Staley's getting fired. You agree with that or disagree with that, Carson?
I think he would be on the hot seat, but I don't think fired after 3 weeks. I think that's still too early in the year, but I think he's definitely on the hot seat. Give me your guys' panic button. You have to win now in week 3. Kurt.
Yeah, I'm with you. Coach Breslin saying Chargers because the issues with the coach. I agree with Kenny. Eddie saying before Giants won last week, I was ready to tank for Caleb Williams. LOL. You know what? There could be a lot of teams. We could say Broncos. We could say Patriots. But I'm with you. I'm going to go Bengals. That's a good division. You're in the AFC. You're a Super Bowl favorite. I mean, I don't know. And just something just doesn't look right there. It doesn't. So I'm going to go with you, Carson. Bengals.
Nice. And Ryan.
I'm going to give you a 1A and 1B. The Chargers, because, again, it feels like Brandon Staley could be fired at any minute. I liked Brandon Staley when they hired him, but holy crap, how do you have Justin Herbert go and play games like he's played the last couple of weeks and still manage to lose those games? But I think the one that's not getting talked about a lot, at least that I haven't seen, the Chicago Bears had perhaps everything at their disposal this offseason to improve that team, to turn things around, and to get Justin Fields everything he needed to succeed. The fact that he somehow manages to look worse than last year, I may have wildly missed on my impressions of this guy, or something majorly dysfunctional is going on in Chicago. In fact, they just fired their DC earlier today. Or he resigned. I don't quite know the terminology.
I wish our DC resigned. I said, I wish our DC resigned.
But yeah, so that's my real one would be the Bears, just because I didn't expect them to turn it all over in one offseason. But you expect when you have that many resources going into the offseason that you have some sort of growth from your quarterback sometime throughout the season. And we're seeing, if anything, the reverse of that. And it's not going to reflect well on Matt Eberflus, who two years ago was considered a top coaching candidate in the NFL ranks.
Nice.
A couple more comments. Yep. Carson, I got a question for you from Key. Well, before I get that, couple comments. Return the belt, saying hello, guys. What's up? Return the belt.
Hey, Omari and Brunel.
Jody saying, well, let's be honest, Herbert is very overrated. Keith has a question.
Agreed.
I'm going to you, Carson, on this one. How many losing seasons does Belichick get to have until his legacy is tarnished? And part 2, do they beat the Jets this week?
I think they do beat the Jets. As high as I was on the Jets this season, I don't know what the hell they're going to do on the offensive side of the ball with Zach Wilson. So I think Belichick will get it together. He kind of was still in that game against the Dolphins. They had an unfortunate break where they were literally a centimeter away from getting that first down off that lateral. That was crazy. But I think Belichick should be fine. I think they're going to hold him because of the Brady regime that he had going on. But I think it'll be at his own will. I highly, highly doubt the Patriots will fire him. I think Bill Belichick, when the time comes, he'll he'll walk away on his own. So maybe,
Yeah, and he is getting up in age too, right, Carson? He's over 70, isn't
yeah.
he?
So maybe a season, 2 seasons, maybe if he's lucky, I would say. So
A couple more comments. Coach
mhm.
Breslin, the Bears are terrible. Isn't he a Ohio State quarterback? LOL. Jody saying, can love that. Kenny, Kurt, and I, new field stinks. Stay away from Ohio State quarterbacks, right, Kurt? Ohio State run first quarterbacks. A run first quarterback I stay away from. Burrow count as an Ohio State quarterback. No, he doesn't, Jody. Kenny and I are on the same page tonight. That's Coach Breslin. Keith is saying Vikings is my top surprise. Thought they had the chance to win the North.
Yeah.
Going to be tough now.
Interesting. Yeah, I like all your guys' takes. That's the first quick hitter. Second one we got on the agenda is which comeback was more impressive, the Washington Commanders or Paul, Sis, and Kenny's New York Football Giants? I'm going to go with the Commanders only because I think the team that they play, I think the Broncos are better than the Cardinals. And considering the circumstances they were dealt in, I think it was like, I mean, Kurt probably doesn't want to recollect his memory, but I think it was a 21-0 lead, something like that, 21-3.
Yep.
Yeah. So I think that was definitely the most impressive. I would say it would be the Commanders. Kurt.
Yeah, listen, I'm with you. I mean, I'm not going to say this like trying to be funny, but I actually heard this on a show where they were saying, and again, I'm not saying they're doing this, but they're like, what's the guy's name? Jonathan Gannon with Arizona. Let's play hard. Let's show we're playing hard. But hey, remember what our goal is. Our goal is Caleb Williams, right? So, I mean, I'm not going to say that, hey, impressive. The Giants did come back. But again, remember what the Cardinals really want to do. And I'm going to say the Commanders, again, against this quote unquote vaunted defense that we don't have, led by our ridiculous coordinator. I give him credit on the road. Sam Howell showed, hey, he can make some big time throws. That throw to McLaurin was a big time throw. So I'm going to take the Commanders too, Carson.
Nice. Ryan.
I'm going to say the New York Giants. The statistical line from the two quarterbacks, Daniel Jones and Josh Dobbs, was parallel. They had virtually the same numbers with except for passing yards. And just looking at the way that game broke down, that game should have been over. Arizona should have had that game wrapped up before the third quarter was over. And somehow I don't care who you're playing, I don't care, where you're playing, at some point, if you're down that much and you're able to win in the fashion in which that they did, that shows, and, Paul and Kenny, you're not going to hear me say this often, so listen closely, but that shows that this is a different New York Giants atmosphere than there's been with Ben McAdoo and Pat Shurmur and whoever the other guy was. I'm not looking forward to facing them as they continue to get things right. I don't know if Daniel Jones is the guy. Well, now he is, but I don't know if I would have made him the guy long term. But there's a winning formula to at least winning a lot of games in New York. And also, since someone mentioned Jonathan Gannon, he's a fraud.
Couple comments real quick. Keith saying the Cardinals knew they couldn't win that game. It would kill their draft chances. Eddie saying Giants because Dable took over the play calling, even though he won't admit it. LOL. Jody Carson, this is the comment of the night from Jody Moncrief. Pay Joshua Dobbs $40 million. Ha ha ha.
Wow.
Eddie said,
yeah, Ryan just said it. Similar stats from Jones and Dobbs. I mean, why not throw money around?
Right? Give him the money. Eddie Murphy. Hey, Kurt, I heard stuff between Payne and Russ aren't good. Does Russ get traded, you think? I'm going no. Joe Judge is the other coach that you were thinking about.
Thank you. Yeah, I couldn't remember his name. I think because I was so high on him and then he completely screwed me.
I disagree with my buddy, Mr. Kirkpatrick, on this. First time I disagree with Kurt. Players are not tanking. Jets won 2 games late with Adam Gase, plus Cardinals did score to go up 28-7. Carson, do you see? I'm not going to say players are tanking, but I think that organization, they want Caleb Williams. Agree or disagree with that?
Yeah, and the real interesting factor is, does Caleb Williams hold out? If he doesn't see the team that he wants at number 1, that's going to determine his factor because he could make a lot more money if he stays at USC.
Hey,
So
he could do a Peyton Manning. Peyton Manning did it.
It's going to be really interesting to see how that plays out. But I think they do.
Who else
Kyler
was it
kind of
that
had
did
his
that?
path. I don't know what they're going to do with Kyler, but they're trying to get their future quarterback.
Did Andrew Luck do that?
It was
I think. Yeah.
Who was it? Was it John Elway that did that?
No, Elway just said, I'm not playing for Baltimore. He still got drafted. What Carson's saying is basically he has another year of eligibility. So if it is the Cardinals and, they have the number 1 pick, he just says, I'm going back to school for.
Okay. Yeah. So not like a Eli Manning, Phillip Rivers type of deal.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Okay.
So yeah, that nice guys. I think definitely that was an impressive comebacks by the Commanders and the Giants. I think we're going to skip over the surprising 2-0 team this year. We kind of hit on that with our surprising teams. We'll go to the next one. This is an interesting one. Are you a fan of the doubleheader games on Monday Night Football? And I'll go first. I think it's interesting. It was kind of weird though how it played out on Monday because you had the games kind of overlapping each other. So I was kind of flipping through the channels back and forth where I just wanted to concentrate on one football game. So I think it is interesting, but you'd think from a ratings point of view to get all of the eyeballs locked in on a single game at once. I think that would make more sense that way. But yeah, I don't mind it. The only problem I have with it is it kind of overlaps, which it gets kind of annoying going back and forth on the channels. Ryan, are you a fan of it?
Okay, so I don't have a problem with having 2 games on Monday night, but whoever scheduled these, I don't understand the logic at all. Looking at next week, we've got Eagles at Bucks at 7:15 my time, and 8:15 we've got Rams at Bengals. So just like you said, if it were like 2.5 hours, so that maybe like the end of one bleeds into the beginning of another, that's one thing. You're barely going to be into this, far into the second quarter. You're not even going to be to halftime yet of the first game when the second game is starting. I don't, and I, as somebody who obviously will be locked in on the Eagles Bucks game, might want to see some of the Rams Bengals game just to see, what's going on over there. I love watching some Aaron Donald. So yeah, no, I'm a fan of the vision behind it, but the execution of it, I think, is absolutely piss poor.
Gotcha. And Kurt,
wait a minute. You're a graduate from Michigan State, and you're a graduate from Seton Hall. Go out and get a second TV. Let's go. Go get a second TV, and all your problems are solved.
I am a law student. I don't have a first TV in here.
There's your answer. No, honestly, all joking aside, I like it. I don't know. I don't mind it. Like you said, Carson, what Scoops just said, if the Broncos are playing, obviously I don't really care about the second game. But Monday night, I flip back and forth. I wasn't in the sports room where the TVs are up. So we downstairs. We actually could do picture in picture with Optimum, which is pretty cool. And you just put the volume on one. But yeah, I don't mind it. Kenny's saying the late game. I don't like that. I mean, 10:30. I remember the Broncos 2 years in a row were on 10:30. How do I go to work the next day? I'm going to sleep 2:00 in the morning. I mean, I didn't like that, but I do like it. I don't want to say this. I don't mind it. Like you say, Carson, I don't mind it.
Can I throw in one last counter real quick? Perhaps what you think about is trying to do them in different time zones so that you're not having one at like 10:30 at night here. So maybe you've got a game that's happening out west and then you have a game that's happening in the central. I don't know, but it's just maybe something like that where you balance it geographically so you're not playing the games here at 10:30 at night would be one way I can think of to counteract that.
Gotcha. Nice. So I like it. Like I said, I don't mind it. I think the more the merrier, the more games, the better. And I think this won't go on the whole season. I remember last year they did it like the first couple weeks. They did like a double header, but then I think for the most part, it's just one game routinely on a week-to-week basis. Moving right along here, we got our top 3 AFC teams after week 2 and top 3 NFC teams. I'll give my teams really quickly. So 3, I for the AFC, I got the Chiefs at number 1. I'm going to go with the Dolphins at number 2. I like what their coaching staff is doing, and I'm a fan of Tua. It's crazy that right now he's the favorite to win MVP. I don't think it's going to hold up, but if that were to happen and if he does come close in the racing, that'd be a crazy comeback story after the whole concussion protocol he had last year. So I'd say the Dolphins, and I'm going to go Ravens. I like what the Ravens are doing. Again, I think again the Bengals were supposed to win that game last week, and I think they proved a lot of people wrong. And they were dealing with some injuries, and they still took down Burrow. So I'll go. Those are my 3 teams in the AFC. NFC, I'm going to put the 49ers at the top. 49ers look amazing all around on both sides of the ball. Arguably the best defense in the NFC. And Purdy looks legit. He has proved me wrong. He looks like the future quarterback of the 49ers. You got McCaffrey and Deebo Samuel and all those boys in San Fran, so they're number 1. I hate to do it, but I'm gonna go the Cowboys at number 2. This team looks amazing, especially on defense. And I've been surprised with how well Dak Prescott's been playing the first 2 weeks of the year. I know we kind of crap on him all the time, but he looks like a solid quarterback through the first 2 weeks of the year, especially going up against the Jets defense last week. He made some great throws. So I'm gonna put the Cowboys 2, and then I'm gonna put Ryan's Eagles at number 3. So those are my teams in the AFC and NFC.
A couple things. Kenny's saying AFC, Dolphins, Chiefs, and Jaguars. He's saying they're still number 3 because they only did allow 17 to Kansas City. His NFC is the Niners, the Cowboys, the Eagles, but he's saying the Falcons are trending up. And Jody's saying Dak was trash week 1. And Eddie's saying to Carson got tired of the green screen, I see. LOL.
Yeah, my dad had to take over the basement tonight. Ryan, give me your teams, AFC and NFC.
AFC, number 1, definitely going Kansas City. They excuse me. They have gone to show us a little bit more of what they're supposed to be. Number 2, Buffalo. Apparently, Josh Allen heard what I said about him last week and gave me a colossal middle finger. And then number 3, I'm going to go with Baltimore. I think that Lamar Jackson is, again, showing what he's supposed to be. And they finally have given him a little bit more in the way of weapons besides Mark Andrews. And, of course, Baltimore has never won with a bad defense. And then on the flip side of things, going to the NFC, which is obviously the conference that I pay more attention to, I got to go with San Francisco number 1 as much as I don't want to. Brock Purdy is looking more like he is, the real deal from last year. Number 2, I'm going to go with my Eagles, even though this might be the ugliest 2-0 start I've ever seen in my entire life. And number 3, definitely, as was just said, the fan of me would not want to do this, but it's easily going to be the Dallas Cowboys. That is a team that I am wanting to face in the NFC Championship because I want to beat them, but I'm not wanting to face them because they're going to be a really tough matchup.
Nice. Kurt, give me your teams, top 3 AFC and NFC.
I'm with Scoops. I'm going Kansas City 1. Number 2, and I thought he was going to get mad at this, but he put him there. His boy Josh Allen in Buffalo. And 3, I'm going to take Baltimore. Again, very impressive going on the road. In Cincinnati, I'm not a must win, but a big game for them, and they get the win. NFC, 49ers 1. I disagree with Kenny on this one. I'm going to take Philly 2 and Dallas 3. Couple comments coming in. Carson, this is for you. Is the AFC still the dominant conference this year?
For sure, 1,000%. And I think, like I said, it's only week 3 now. But as the weeks and the times go on, you're going to see a lot of teams in the AFC starting to compete for those final wild card spots. But AFC definitely better than the NFC, I would still say.
Jody's going Dolphins, Ravens, Bills, Niners, Atlanta, Dallas. He's not putting Philly in there. Maybe we're getting a little skirmish here between Scoops and Jody Moncrief. Maybe Jody's just mad that it wasn't Scoops that blocked him. It was Kenny's the one that blocked him off the show last week. So we're glad to have Jody back on Facebook. And Jody's saying Chiefs are done because Kelsey will be distracted by dating Taylor Swift. Kenny's saying, I like Jody's answers. Chiefs win 1 game and they're number 1. Eddie's saying, explain you guys picking the Eagles over the Cowboys at 2 when Dallas has only allowed 10 points in 2 games. Go ahead, Scoops.
Yeah, again, I said that their defense has been, has been fantastic. I think that that's one of the reasons why they're doing so well, even when Dak is, not when Dak hasn't been playing great. But if you look at Philadelphia, I think are a more complete team. I think they are a more complete roster. I trust their coaching staff, Sirianni, and their two new coordinators, Johnson and Desai. I trust that coaching staff more than I trust Dallas's. So yeah, I'm not taking anything away from what their defense has done, but it's not only 11. It's not only 11 guys winning the game.
Coach Breslin, the Eagles proved it last year. Until they are beat by the Cowboys, I would go with the Eagles as well. Kenny, they scored only 17 points on top of it. So that's that, Mr. Carson.
Nice. Yeah, good job, gentlemen. That was kind of my NFL quick hitters. Again, shout out to Kenny and Paul for putting this agenda together. And now we got some college football, Kurt, if you want to get into that.
Yeah, I'll do some college football. I'm going to start off what we always start off. By the way, this week, college football, I told Jen, don't ask me to do anything. I'm not doing anything. I'm not going anywhere. I'm going shopping Friday night after our all-in game day. I am not leaving the house. It's just games all day long. Every slot, you have top games. It's absolutely crazy. So, Carson, I'll start with you. Today. If you had to fill out your top 4 and your next 2, where are you going?
Yeah, I think I'm putting Michigan at number 1. I know J.J. McCarthy didn't have the strongest first half against Bowling Green, but they're going to start to get into real competition. And I think their schedule is going to put a big factor on an advantage versus a couple other teams on this list. So I'm going to put Michigan number 1 over Georgia. Georgia's right there at number 2. Little shaky against South Carolina. I was watching that game. South Carolina was actually up in that game for a while. Back and forth. So I'm going to put Georgia at number 2. Texas, again, question marks in the first half going up against Wyoming. They were down in that game, actually, but then they kind of blew them away in the second half. So I still put Texas there. And I'm going to put USC. I know I've been kind of hating on USC the first couple weeks. This might be one of the best offenses I've ever seen in college football history. Caleb Williams is the real deal. They've got receivers on everywhere, a great offensive line. Obviously, their coaching staff. Again, little question marks on defense, but I'm going to put USC finally in the top 4. And then the next 2 that I have out, I'm going to put Florida State. I have them dropping, and then I got Penn State right behind them. And then again, I'm not a big believer in this Ohio State team. I don't think
I'm with
the Ohio State that we all know and love and are accustomed to. I think they're kind of starting to fall on the downward trend in the Big Ten. I think Penn State's going to surpass them.
A couple coming in. Kenny, Georgia, Texas, Michigan, Washington, Penn State at 5, Florida State at 6. Jody Moncrief, Michigan 1, Georgia 2, Notre Dame 3, Texas 4, Washington 5, and Colorado 6.
Colorado 6. Wow.
He's a Colorado guy, Carson. You know what I mean? He's a Colorado guy. Real quick, 30 seconds or less, Carson. Coach Breslin saying, "RU, let's go, LOL." Any hope, any chance this week? Or when is that game over this week?
You talking about Colorado or Rutgers?
No. Rutgers, Michigan.
Oh, man. You know what,
at Michigan.
Coach, I'm rooting for you to cover the spread. Listen, Michigan has not covered the spread in their first 3 games. So, like I said, good teams win, great teams cover. Michigan still hasn't covered the spread yet. So, again, the Rutgers, I could see you guys at least covering the spread. I'm hoping it's a good game.
All right, before Scoops, I'll give you my top 4. I'm going Georgia still 1, Michigan 2. But like you said, Carson, I mean, I think they're definitely the 2 best teams in the country. You can flip-flop them. 3, I'm still going to go Texas. Impressive win at Bama. 4, Florida State. But I'll talk about them in a couple of minutes. 5, I'm going to go Penn State. I'm very impressed with them. On the road at Illinois. Listen, they put a pounding on them. Tough to win road games in the Big Ten. And 6, I'm going to give Notre Dame a little love. And you know why? Because I'm picking them this week. I think, like you said, Carson, very overrated Ohio State. On the road, I think Notre Dame gets that done. So I'm going to put them 6. Scoops.
Number 1, the Bullfrogs. Number 2, the Wolverines. Number 3, this was a tough one for me, but I'll go with Penn State. Number 4, this was also a tough one for me, but because I like their quarterback better, I'll go Florida State. And then 5 and 6, 5, I'll go Oklahoma. And 6, I'll take Notre Dame, but I'm tempted to take Washington there as
Okay.
well.
Coach Breslin Carson is saying second quarter the game will be over. Jody's saying Hartman for Heisman. Eddie's saying best quarterback since Brady Quinn and Notre Dame. And Eddie's also Carson, yes or no? Agree with Eddie. After this win, if Notre Dame wins, they're automatic top 5. What do you think?
Yeah, and yeah, I think you could make the case for maybe even top 4, especially if they have like a pretty dominating win at home against Ohio State. You could definitely squeeze them into the top 4.
All right, Carson, right back at you. Give me a surprise team from last weekend.
So I'm going to say on the downtrend a little bit is Colorado. I think they were the triple-digit favorite at home. They were supposed to blow out their rival, the whole business with Dion giving them the business and taking your hat off and your sunglasses when you greet adults in the room, and they barely got by the skin of their teeth in overtime. So I'm going to say a little disappointing is Colorado.
Scoops.
I was also going to say Colorado, but just to kind of shake it up a little bit, I'm going to go with Kansas State. Kansas State last week was ranked 9. I know it was early, but Mizzou, shout out to Mizzou, came in and beat them by 3 when Kansas State was favored by 3.5. So I do wonder if Kansas State's nice little run at the start of the season is was pretty short-lived.
Kenny is saying Missouri beating Kansas State with a 62-yard field goal.
That was crazy.
Eddie Murphy, his glasses made millions last week about Dion, LOL.
Yeah.
Jody saying Texas 10-10 with Wyoming start. I'm going to go a little different direction. I'm going to take North Carolina because, they started off with a big win versus South Carolina. Then they go to overtime with Appalachian State. Now you're bringing in a big physical team, right? A Big Ten Minnesota team, and everyone was upset alert. Minnesota can upset them, definitely cover spread. And North Carolina handled them pretty well in that game. So in a good way, I'm going to take North Carolina as my surprise. I'll start with my disappointment. Well, actually, let's go here. Kenny, disappointment, Kurt, is Alabama. Struggling against South Florida for 3 quarters, not good. Jody saying Tennessee. I'm with Kenny. I'm Alabama. And I'm an SEC guy. I sit here, but I'm just telling you, Nick Saban and Alabama became Alabama because of the guys that they recruited up front. And their offensive line and their defensive line has always been physical. They used to run the ball, play defense, and all of a sudden, for some reason, when he has 3 bad quarterbacks, 1 quarterback, the guy who's playing this week, Lord help us because he's back. But we're gonna spread them out and run it around, and that's not who they are. That's not what wins. Look at Georgia and Michigan. You're not seeing that. Georgia was down 14-3. What did Kirby Smart say? Line them up and run right down their throat. Bing, bing, bing. Just like that, you take the lead, you win the game. Alabama has to do this, and they have to do this week with Ole Miss. You're not going to get into Lane Kiffin's going to be guy spinning around and all that. Don't play that game. Line up, double tight end, and run right down Ole Miss's throat. Tell the quarterback you're going to throw it 10 times, make 2 or 3 big plays. You'll win by 3 touchdowns, and you're back. Get out of this garbage offense. That's not who you are. That's not who you recruit. You recruit physical guys. You have no receivers, and you're running 3, 4, 5 wideouts. You have nothing. You have the kid Burton. Nothing else. You have no quarterback. Line up, run the ball, and become Alabama. I'm with Kenny. Carson, your disappointment.
Yeah, I'm with you, Kurt. I'm going to go Alabama as well. I think Saban's kind of fed up with the squad that he has right now, and it's going to be a long season for Alabama. I mean, South Florida, and you're barely still in the game, and you can't really figure out your quarterback situation just yet. So I'm going to say Alabama disappointing as well.
Scoops.
Well, I just gave you, so I'll give you my surprise instead. My surprise was Boston College. They came in and they were expected to get absolutely annihilated by Florida State. and it ended up being a very close game, in spite of being a double-digit spread at the start of the game. So I think that they came in and even I know the game was at home, but still they were still projected to pretty much lose going away. So the fact that they hung on and played as well as they did, I'm impressed with that.
All right. Who is on upset alert this? Oh, actually, Kenny has a question before. Let me just get a couple comments. Eddie's saying, when is Colorado getting a real opponent? On Saturday, because they're going to Oregon. Jody's saying the quarterback, what's his name? Buckner, if that is bad. So glad he left Notre Dame. To be fair, TCU is a real team. He's answering Eddie. Jody Moncrief, Tommy Reese is trash. Eddie Murphy, a lot of luck last year. Jody, Bama going back to Milroe at quarterback. Me and Kenny are thinking alike tonight. But Carson, I'll start with you real quick. Kenny wants to know, besides your team, and I don't know, Carson, if you want to watch your team this week, Michigan State, give me one game you're looking forward to in this huge slate.
Oh, it's got to be Notre Dame, Ohio State. I'm rooting for Paul's boys down in South Bend. It should be a really good game, prime time under the lights. Notre Dame, this is your time to show up. We've been having some question marks about you being independent and not joining a conference, and this is your time to go beat the Buckeyes. And that's to get our next question, Kurt. I think they're definitely on upset alert this week is the Ohio State Buckeyes.
All right. Scoops, what's your thought on that?
I think a team that's absolutely on upset alert is a team that I'm actually surprised is in getting increasing traction as the favorite. So 13 ranked Florida State plays 7 Clemson. The line has been trending in Florida State's favor the last couple of days, despite the game being at Clemson and Clemson being higher ranked. That's going to be a really good game to watch. And in terms of just upset alert, that's definitely a game that I could see going in favor of Clemson, in spite of Florida State seeming to get more traction as the week.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think they're upset. Listen, I made a little wager with Joey Clams. Remember that, Carson? I'm not getting out of that. We made that bet, and I'm going to do it. I'm with Kenny. I think Florida State on the road at Clemson. I think Clemson does get it done, so I think I'm going to put them on upset alert. But another game again, I guess I'm going to have to take what you said, Carson. The game to watch at night at Notre Dame. College game days there. Jody's all fired up. I'm going to take. I'm going to. I guess I want to watch that Ohio State and Ohio State Notre Dame game. Mm-hmm. So Alabama on upset alert. No business being a 7-point favorite. Agree or disagree, Carson, with Kenny on that?
Yeah. Again, I think Ole Miss is a really underrated football team. They seem to compete well in the SEC, and I think Ole Miss is coming for Bama for sure.
Eddie wants anybody want to answer this one? Eddie, I don't follow college often except watching the Irish. Why won't they join a conference? Anybody want to jump in on that one?
I think it's
I don't know. I don't even know.
I think a lot of it's due to the whole media rights deal with NBC. And I think as soon as if they decide to jump ship, I think that would definitely play a big jeopardizing factor. So I think a lot of it's due to TV media rights with NBC.
Yep. Coach Kenny saying money. Coach Breslin, TV rights and money. Again, they have that NBC, Peacock, whatever it is. That's their deal. It's like they're not going to give that up. Jody saying easy $70 million deal with NBC. All right, boys, it is 8:55. We did a great job. Again, I want to give a shout out to Kenny and Paul for working on the agenda, even though they're not here. Kenny, I don't know what he's getting done in work tonight because he's been commenting throughout the night. So I hope everything's okay at that hospital right now. I'm not joking. I'm being serious. I hope everything's keeping getting straight. But, I'll start with this. I'm an Auburn fan, so Auburn, Texas A&M, again, not ranked teams, but it's a big game for me. But I'll have the 3 TVs fired up, flaring up, because this weekend for college football, it's probably one of the best ever. What's great too is I don't know about the weather with you guys, but over here in the East Coast, 100% of rain. There'll be I got to go here, go there. Just perfect day. Everybody stay inside, stay off the roads. Don't get in the rain. Watch your games. I'm excited about that. And I don't even know what I'm going to say at 10 o'clock tonight in this show because I am just so absolutely disappointed with this joke of a defense and Vance Joseph right now. I'll just give you a little, hint. 2 games, our offense gave our defense the lead. Supposedly close the game out. Just end the story. Close the game. I don't care. Your top defense, you're supposed to be. Close the game out. Case closed. Final thoughts, Mr. Ryan Scoop Woodhams.
Yeah, so guys, for anyone watching, we always say that we pride ourselves on being a family show. You might want to put the kids to bed for whatever Kurt's about to say about the Broncos. Real quick, Kurt, I told you I had a funny story to share. Do I have time to share that or no?
Minutes, yep.
All right, so fantasy football this weekend. I had a pretty good weekend. I won all my matches except for one. Of course, it was against Mr. Valenti.
That's right. I forgot about that.
Yeah, I was following the Charger game, and I got a message. Kurt, you remember Britt? Shout out to Britt, and I don't know if Carson knows her, but she messaged me and says, "How's your fantasy football teams doing?" So I give the whole rundown. And she basically says, "My friends and I are going to do a league together. Do you want to join?" So I'm now in a 6th league. And we were drafting a half an hour after she asked me this, so I had no time to research. She drafts Pat Mahomes, and she tells me going into the draft, I'm drafting Jalen Hurts. So she goes in and she drafts Pat Mahomes. So I'm like, okay, so there's no way she's drafting Jalen Hurts. The very next pick, before I can get to him, she drafts Jalen Hurts. She now has both of 2 of the top quarterbacks in the NFL and has been rubbing my nose in it ever since. And I was like, I had no idea how to react because I was so annoyed, but also
make a trade.
Well, that's what she said. And she was like, "Well, you can overpay me for him." And I don't know if you guys know. I don't know if you guys know the comedian Matt Rife, but it's like he says in one of his specials, that's annoying, but game recognized game. That's something I would have done.
Did it.
So, shout out to our friends Tyler and Jalen who are in that league with us. It's going to be an exciting year.
Okay, Carson. Before final thoughts from you, Eddie's saying, Carson, what does the Akers deal to Minnesota do for the North? Anything in your opinion or no?
Yeah, I think Cam Akers is a solid back. The weird situation with him in LA wasn't working out. I still don't know why Minnesota let Dalvin Cook go, maybe because of his contract or whatever it was, but I think it's a solid, fresh new start for Cam Akers, and I think it could definitely boost his confidence. I'm not afraid of him per se, being in the same division. I'd be much more afraid of Dalvin Cook, but I'm glad he's gone. So I think it's good though for his career.
All right. And your final thoughts, Mr. Carson Shear.
Yeah, great show as always, guys. Love talking sports with you all. Looking forward to our Wits and Wagers show tomorrow. And have a great rest of your night, everybody.
All right, guys. And again, Paul's mom, prayers out for you, Paul, and your mom. And real quick, Kenny had a comment from Coach Breslin. I got to read this one. He said, "Poor people at the hospital, Kurt. Nurse, hold on. I have to update the show." Be right back. There you go. All right, boys.
Cool.
Have a good night, everybody. We'll see you guys next week and see you tomorrow.